is Daniel Fisher from Edinburgh University in 0. Morgan Berryman, University of Stirling in 1. Jeff Butler from Edinburgh Uni in 2. Chris Lowther, City of Glasgow in 3. Stephen Milne from Perth City goes in 4. Lander Hendricks from Vlaams in 5. Angus Barr from South Lanarkshire in 6. Casey Barrett from Royal Wolverhampton School in 7. John Wright from South Lanarkshire in 8. And Luke Robbins from Millfield in lane number 9. So Stephen Milne, there's probably not going to be many that will be able to live with the pace of Stephen Milne.
Yeah, he's a brilliant athlete. I love the way that Stephen goes about his business. You know, he's a man of few words, but he's absolutely about the business in the pool. He can perform on demand. He's a great swimmer. Obviously, the 1500 metres being his ribboned event. And already, on the first 100 metres, still got 14 of those to go, but he's already making his mark. A good half a body length ahead, turning there in a 57.72. I'd be very impressed if he can keep up that pace.
Well, I'm sure he'd be impressed as well. That'd be quite a substantial personal best for Stephen Milne. Needs to keep up that pace the whole way through. And of course, it's not just the 1500. I mean, he's involved in the relay squads as well, isn't he?
Absolutely. He swims across almost the full spectrum, minus obviously the 50s and the real kind of sprint events. He will, of course, like you say, be in the 4x200 metres men's freestyle relay. Very, very good at the 400 as well, all the way up to the 15. It's a very skilled and talented thing to be able to do that, to transfer, you know, your performance all the way down to a 200 metres and all the way back up to a 1500 metres. It's a sign of a true athlete.
And 1500, of course, is, as you said, is kind of favoured event here. It's the one that he's been renowned for over the years. And he'll be swimming that in the Olympic Games. But of course, the 4x200 relay team has got a pretty good chance, hasn't it? The World Championship team.
Yeah.
You know, is there kind of a temptation to concentrate, you know, maybe on that 200 team? I'm sure the guys in the 200 team, there'll be pressure on him to perform well at both of them. It's difficult to kind of do the both events, but I suppose you need the strength for the 200 as well.
Definitely. It is tough, and I think it totally depends on the individual swimmer. Someone like Stephen, who's still relatively young, you know, he won't take particularly long to recover between races. I'm sure that his focus will very much be spread. Whereas when you start to get to the top of that spectrum, some of the older guys, you know, you have to focus your efforts in. You have to really dedicate your mindset and your performance to one race in particular. But yeah, that 4x200 men's relay, obviously coming off the back of the World Championships last year, you can't knock them. World champions, you know, they're in a fantastic position going into Rio. Confidence is at an absolute peak. But anything can happen on the day. You know, there are lots of variables going into that. The main one, of course, being that the finals will be swum at midnight, but 10 o'clock to 12 o'clock in the evening. So that's something that these guys are going to have to really start thinking about now, start readjusting their kind of schedules to suit that so that they can peak at the right time. But yeah, I mean, it's all to play for. It's a really exciting time for all of these guys, and hopefully we'll come out on top, or certainly on the podiums in a lot of different events.
Oh, we certainly hope so. It should be very, very exciting. The Olympic Games, I'm looking forward to watching it. Hopefully everyone else will be, and we wish all the swimmers going to the Olympics, including Stephen Milne, the very best here. And he's leading this one ahead of Lander Hendricks. And Stephen Milne still under the average of 1 minute for each of the hundreds, 3:59.93. He's going, his last pace there was 1 minute point 7, I think, so not too bad a pace there for Stephen Milne. Lander Hendricks holding on pretty well though, just around a bit of body length behind, and they have stretched their lead over the rest of the field already as they come down to the 500 metre mark in third position. It's another one of the talented Scots. It's Angus Barr, 4:42.45, but he is struggling to live with the pace of the top two. Jeff Butler in fourth, Chris Lowther in fifth position, John Wright in 6th place. Casey Barrett in 7th. Daniel Fisher, Luke Robbins and Morgan Berryman are in 8th, 9th and 10th position. But Stephen Milne going over there, 5:01.30, just holding off the challenge from Lander Hendricks. And well, Lander Hendricks not giving this one up, is he, Jodie?
Absolutely not. And the point in the 1500 metre race where both of them will be looking to settle into their rhythms, try and keep the consistency there, but to see him already trying to claw back, it's a really positive sign for his attitude towards the race. But we'll see what Stephen can do here, because he's looking very comfortable. He's starting to clock times that are very consistent. He looks like he's settling into a comfortable routine, a comfortable rhythm, and that's exactly what you need at this point. It's still early doors in this 1500 metres. They've got well over halfway to go still. So we'll see how he manages to hold off this advance, but I'm sure he will.
Well, the red cap, Stephen Milne, takes them into the 600 mark in 6:02.64. Again, very consistent, just around about 101, 101.3 in that last 100 there. And Stephen Milne just holding off the challenge there of Lander Hendricks, the Flemish swimmer, in lane number 5. Do remember, as you see at the top of your screen, send in your tweets. Jodie is just scrolling down them now as we speak to see if any other messages of good luck have come in. Remember, send in a picture of where you're watching us on the live stream tonight. We'll try and give you a mention. We will be here on the live stream, of course, all weekend. So this is just day 1 of these championships. Another 3 days to go following this one. So there is the hashtag SNSC16. So send us in your tweets and we'll try and give you a mention.
Yeah, just seeing here, Scottish Swimming have actually tweeted. They're tweeting throughout the competition. Obviously, they're down on poolside and are actually able to chat to the athletes, the advantage that we don't quite have. And they're just posting up interviews and conversations they're having. Hannah Miley, one that's just obviously gone through the medium mix zone, saying last competition before Rio, so I'm just fine-tuning things. That's absolutely where all of these swimmers are going to be, including Stephen Milne in this race. They will have a dedicated race plan, which they will have been sticking to for a long time now. All these athletes are very honed. They know exactly what they're doing in the pool. It will just be a case of tweaking little things before Rio to make sure that when they get in the pool on that day, everything is absolutely spot on with their preparation.
And as you said, Jodie, they'll be starting that process from many months out, or years out in some cases, that people are building up towards this big event in Rio.
Absolutely. I mean, for most of the athletes, as soon as one Olympics goes by, the next Olympics becomes, the main goal, the main aim. It goes to the forefront of, their minds, the forefront of the goals that they're setting. So yeah, it really is, as they say, a 4-year cycle, between each Olympics, but mentally it is a 4-year cycle as well.
And British Swimming have already identified people target Tokyo for the next games. We're not even at Rio yet, 2016. It almost seems like yesterday that we were in London in 2012.
I know, it's frightening. But yeah, 2020, target Tokyo. We saw at the British trials a few months ago, obviously they had a separate junior final dedicated to that target Tokyo age group, if you like. We've got some really, really promising youngsters coming through the ranks at the moment. It's a really exciting time for British Swimming. We've got the guys at the top of the game making their mark, and the younger ones coming through, nipping at their heels, really. I mean, Duncan Scott has very much marked himself as a senior swimmer now, but it's the likes of him that are coming through, challenging the older guys and, keeping everybody on their toes. It's brilliant.
Yeah, he certainly did that, Duncan Scott. It's Tokyo might be a target for Duncan Scott as well. Certainly the immediate target for him will be Rio in 2016, as it will be for the likes of Stephen Milne here in the red cap. He has been caught by Lander Hendricks, the Flemish swimmer, who has just now gone into very, very slight lead, but there's a lot of turns in the 1500, and it just looks to me like Stephen Milne is using those turns to a little bit more of an advantage now. Lander Hendricks certainly in the early stages, losing a little bit of ground on the turns to Stephen Milne. So Stephen Milne now just coming back alongside Hendricks, the Flemish swimmer, as they come down now to the 1,000 metre mark. Just 500 remaining after this one. Lander Hendricks has a lead of about 0.2 of a second. Stephen Milne goes over in 10:10:35, and that is around about 102. So pace has just dipped, just very slightly for Stephen Milne, but Lander Hendricks is just picked it up, so that's why the lead has changed hands. Not much in it still though, so we could be on for a grandstand finish here. Both having a look at each other here as they go over this turn.
Yeah, it's still too close to call at this point in the race. Obviously they do have another, what is it now, 450 metres to go.
Yeah.
So there is, it is still all to play for. They are keeping with each other. Stephen fighting back every time that Lander tries to make an advance. So it really is the definition of head-to-head racing, which we don't often get to see in the 1500 metres.
I quite like the 1500s when we have a real close battle like this one. It's a long event, but it can be fascinating just to see how the race develops as you go through. I do remember seeing a very, very close 1500 in the UK school games a few years back. Ended up as a dead heat. So that's
Gosh, the chances. It really is a game of chess. You know, you don't want to play your cards too soon, so to speak. You know, you've got to stick to your own race strategy, know exactly what you've got in the tank and how your body can respond to certain situations. And it's almost a case of biding your time, you know, not getting overexcited in the first 500 metres, not letting, you know, the energy and the adrenaline get the better of you and just, you know, exerting too much too soon. So it's it's a real waiting game, certainly for us spectators, but it's brilliant when you can have these kind of battles where you're really seeing like the test for these swimmers throughout the entire race.
Well, Lander Hendricks having a look up there. He's looking, I think he was trying to look at the lane marker board, but he won't see that at that end. I don't think there is a lane marker board at this end. He'll have to have another look at the top there, and that has allowed Stephen Milne to get back on terms. You see Lander Hendricks just lifting his head there, which seems to suggest he might have just lost count there as he goes over at 1200. But we'll see if he does the same at this top end. You will be able to see that there is 5 lengths to go as he gets in here. Well, he's not done it this time, but it is very, very tight indeed. There is only 0.2 of a second still in it here between these two.
Yeah, gutsy racing from Stephen. It would have been quite easy to see Lander going past him and just let that go, but it's not the kind of swimmer that he is. Real testament to him as an athlete, and it looks to me, oh, they're absolutely neck and neck, with Stephen maybe edging ahead. We'll see on the clock.
Oh, well,
0.2, it's getting closer, it's absolutely getting closer, and every turn Stephen is really making the most of that underwater work. I think he's got an edge.
I think he has. Stephen Milne with the red cap. Lander Hendricks looking a little bit ragged now, and it looks like Stephen Milne is just pushing into the lead here. He has 3 lengths to go when he reaches this one. It's 150 metres for Stephen Milne and Lander Hendricks. And what has the Flemish swimmer got left here? The lead has changed around, as you can see. It's an advantage of Stephen Milne of about 0.3 of a second, and Lander Hendricks, well, he's not going away from Lander Hendricks as Stephen Milne. Hendricks still holding on there with the black cap. He's come this far, he's come 1,400 metres, he's very close to Stephen Milne. He's not going to let him go now if he can possibly help it, but Stephen Milne looking very strong as they both go to the legs on the last 100.
Yeah, this really will separate the men from the boys here. It's who's got that final fight. As you say, they've done 1,400 metres already, even less so now, and it looks as though Stephen's really getting an edge here.
Well, Hendricks is getting more and more ragged now as he tries to keep pace with Stephen Milne. It's going to come down to a 50-metre sprint here at the end The edge there is to Stephen Milne by 0.8 of a second, and Stephen Milne shows his power now as he comes down to the last 50 metres now. Stephen Milne now, surely he's coming away from Lander Hendricks, but Hendricks trying to fight back, but Stephen Milne, he does have enough. He has the power, Stephen Milne, to go away with the red cap. Stephen Milne now, a body length advantage over Lander Hendricks, and he will take that one in 15.19.40, and Lander Hendricks 15.19.60.